Welcome to the Neighborhood Watch Party podcast with George, James, and Drew. While we may essentially just be fans of the sport, we passionately debate it weekly and have recorded it here for your viewing pleasure. Check out our social media in the description to find us on other platforms. Please enjoy. Hello, everybody. Welcome again to an episode of the Neighborhood Watch Party podcast with George, James, and Drew. It's Drew here again. We had an exciting first week of the postseason. Things were absolutely insane. We had some crazy comebacks. We had some blowouts. We had some expected performances. We had some unexpected performances. But all around, we've got some good football to talk about from this past week and some football coming up, as well as some breaking news. More coaching staff decisions and changes continue to be announced. And as we look more into that, we'll get into that in our breaking news section. But other than that, I think we could start getting into our week with the top of the podcast checking on that betting scoreboard update. So, as you guys know, last week we had a little bit more bets than we usually did. But with that came more points, and I took full advantage of that. Tying George again for first place with 2 correct picks and my lock on that Jaguars game. You know, I made about $700 betting on that Jaguars game. Just talking betting before we get into this. I never doubted it. Never doubted it. I never doubted my bets here. I never doubted anything like that. I was confident, and I'm confident going forward, and I'm willing to put, I didn't tell George about this, but I'm willing to tell him here. I'm willing to stake a little bit here that I'm going to end above you at the end of this season.
Oh.
I'm willing to put a little stake down.
Oh.
I don't mean to include, James, you can get in if you want.
No, listen, if you let me parlay all of my picks next week and I get them all right, I can be tied with you guys. I'll do that.
Wait, what do you want us to let you do?
If he gets all of his picks right,
if I get everything right,
and we miss all our picks.
No, not you miss.
No, if he gets them all, he'd be tied with us next week. He'd just get enough points to be tied with us.
But
it's a parlay. If you get one wrong, you don't get any.
Yeah.
But wouldn't that assume me and you both also miss all our picks?
No, because we pick whatever we want.
Yeah. So if James could get a maximum this week of.
No, he'll just tie. He'll go up to us, like whatever we are after the week.
You could just say I'm like one lower than you.
One lower than the lowest of us.
Just so I'm if I somehow do it, I'm at least in the competition.
Yeah, one lower than the lowest of us.
My largest concern with this. There's only like 4 games.
Fine, I'll pick Lions and winners if it makes me if that allows me to be tied. I'll pick Lions and winners.
All right. If James gets every winner and line correct, he's tied with us going into the into the championship game.
All right. Well, look at that. James this week though had a rough week, only getting his Baltimore pick right.
It's pretty standard at this point.
The score. No, I don't mean to be like. We're not going to trash in here, James. You get an. I feel like we still get a decent amount of picks right for what we put in. You know.
Guys may get a decent amount of picks right, but I do not.
But that puts the scoreboard at 27 for George and Drew, with James at 16. And so we'll talk stakes later. We'll talk that out of here. I don't know how legal it is to talk about that on our podcast, but. We will get into that later, I'm sure. Going forward, though, after that, we've got our first bulk portion, and so we've got a lot of good post-week season football that we had this past week. You know, we'll obviously get into our neighborhood watch game later, but I think we could start with maybe some of the less exciting ones. And looking at these, I think the one to start with there might have to be the Cowboys-Buccaneers. Would anyone particularly want to start that one? I watched it a little bit, so I could, but.
Yeah, sure. I mean, that game was atrocious by the Buccaneers. They looked awful for about 3.5 quarters of that game. Tom Brady looked bad. Their O-line couldn't block, and Dak Prescott played really well. And the whole Dallas team played really well. You know, coming off that terrible week against Washington, you know, they played exceptional. And I thought, you know, it would be the reverse. I thought that Tampa would come out firing. They've been on a hot streak lately. And Dallas would let the moment get to them and collapse. And they didn't. They played well on all cylinders. Aside from Brett Maher missing all the extra points, that was atrocious. But aside from that, they had a great game. I hate the Cowboys, but I'll give credit where credit's due. Mike McCarthy, Kellen Moore, and Dan Quinn coached that team up, and they all played really well.
No, and I have to say, I guess just based off of me and your predictions, we were going to assume the Bucs were going to win that game, but I really thought Tom Brady would play a little more football in the playoffs. It was disappointing to think that might be the last I see of him. Like, I know he wants to play more, and I know other teams are talking about getting him, but there's a definite, or not but like a somewhat possibility that could be the last snaps we ever get to see him play, especially with the way he played. I feel like.
No, I think he'll play somewhere else. I mean, we can get into that talk after George gives his opinion of the game, but I think he's going to play somewhere else. I think his time in Tampa is done definitively after this.
Oh, for sure. I can agree with you there. My point is,
I think he's going to play somewhere else.
No, that's whether or not that's debate. It's just I really thought Tom would come out in the postseason, and he did not. And
I agree.
There were some questionable ones where I thought maybe his receivers weren't running the routes, but I mean, he looked bad for a few of those throws at least. Credit to the Cowboys defense. They're a very tough unit, don't get me wrong. But I've never been confident in the Cowboys. And again, even after watching this game, I still don't feel confident. I know they replaced the kicker, right? I think.
They signed another one. They didn't release him, though.
Yeah. Part of me wanted to say maybe that was an issue, like, with where they were or something, like, because they all missed the same way, right? High and right.
I think so.
No, they
didn't.
Yeah.
I kind of blocked that part of the game out because it was just so sad.
Well,
that dude miss.
No, I know. I felt real bad, like, especially like you see the teammates trying to comfort him, but overall,
except for Dak. Dak was very upset about it. Also, that was bullshit by Dak to get mad at that because that team has had to watch Dak throw the most interceptions in the league, and no one got mad at him. That's bad. That's bad on Dak.
No, let's correct a couple things here. First of all, it's a bold assumption that no one was mad at Dak for throwing 4 interceptions to him.
Yeah, okay.
That's a bold.
No one showed it on the sidelines. No one showed it on the sidelines.
How do you know that?
Because it didn't make any news like Dak did.
A defensive tackle could have been mad at Dak, but he's not making the news.
I mean, dude, I think
my point is, like, Micah Parsons didn't come out when Micah Parsons didn't ever turn the ball, get a turnover, and then Dak come out and throw another one, and he slams his helmet.
Dak in the press conference. I don't know if you would quite call it an apology because I don't think he realized they had a video of him saying, "Let's fucking go for 2." But Dak in the press conference said, Maher's bailed us out a bunch of time. We're riding with Maher. We're with him all the way. We want to help him out.
See, this is the thing. I don't disagree with him saying that.
No, I'm okay with it. I would have the same. I had the same reaction sitting on my couch.
No, the commentators said the same thing. They're like, I'm not kicking it at this point. Like,
that's in my opinion a perfectly valid response.
Oh yeah.
It was anger at the coach.
But my point is he's the leader of the team. Yeah.
Yeah, as a leader on the team, you don't do that. That's a bad look.
As a kicker on the team, you don't miss 4 extra points.
Okay.
This is football.
Okay, yeah. Dude, you're supposed to all right. You're supposed to be a leader on the team. Like, I understand, like, in the press conference, he tried to, make up for it. Whatever. That's just revisionist history. Like, in the moment, he was pissed. He let it show. Didn't mean anything, no. But I think that's very bad leadership from Dak, who is typically a really good leader.
I sort of agree with James here. I don't think it's as serious as James is sort of implicating, but I do agree. At a time where cohesion and being a unit is really important, like, you're in elimination football now, it is not the time to be making enemies on your own team.
Like, if he would have went and talked to Maher, I can understand it.
You don't know
he did.
Oh, that's what I sort of agree with. Like, they could have talked beforehand, and we just didn't see that.
Go for fucking 2.
Yeah, and it's a little unfortunate. Again, it's a question of, like, we don't know whether or not it's an unfortunate timing of the cameraman or just, like, that's all that actually happened. I think at the end of the day, though, I think the Cowboys played some serious ball, and I think they have a chance to play more ball coming up.
They will have a fun game.
Yeah, no.
On Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah. I mean, we'll talk about that more.
Yeah.
I'm gonna another one I think that wasn't as entertaining as it could have been, but really came alive at the end. Bengals Ravens. And
honestly, I thought that game was pretty entertaining.
That was a good game.
No, and I'm not saying it was a bad game. I think we expected more out of Joe Burrow this first game.
So what I'm gonna say about this game is playing a team twice a year is tough enough. When you play a team 3 times in a year, and that team game planned for you the week before, and you had to pull out some stops the week before to beat them, it's going to be hard to go score points. They're going to know everything that's coming. They're going to know your strengths. They're going to know your weaknesses. They're going to know your tendencies. They've just spent the last 3 weeks studying you. So I expected any divisional rival game in the playoffs where it's their third time playing for the year to be super tight. And I'm actually going to predict that later with the Giants and Eagles, not to get ahead of ourselves. But again, when you're playing a division rival for however many time that year, unless you're just like way better than them, that's going to be a good game.
Did I cut out?
Potentially. What did we miss? Yeah, what did we miss?
Yeah, I cut out.
Oh, well, we might have lost James here. But the big thing is again, I think
I'm back.
I agree with you on this divisional rival thing, George, but it sort of sounds funny hearing you say that because I feel like you've argued with me saying that exact line of reasoning for other games. I feel like...
Yo, can you guys hear me? Am I back?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, sorry, I cut out for a second.
No worries. I think it's funny, and James can attest here. I feel like George usually is against the line of reasoning, you're playing each other so many times in a year on the show.
Well, I mean, if we want to look at the history, George did block the Bengals -8.5 for the game. So, I mean, George kind of did the exact
reason I did that.
Here.
No, the reason I did that is my divisional rival point stands. I still believe that. But the reason I locked the Bengals -8.5 is I had a gut feeling. And in the podcast, when we did our Super Bowl predictions, I picked the Bengals to the Super Bowl. I had this gut feeling that the Bengals were coming out on like a playoff revenge tour. And also just the fact that they didn't. I thought that the Bengals probably should have beat them by more in that Week 18 game. So that's also another basis of that prediction. But hey, look, that prediction was wrong.
No,
and the scary thing. Yeah, I was gonna say
I agree with George's reasoning about like the division rivalry thing. Like I agree with it. I think it is like if you have a good coach and you play a team multiple times a year, and no offense, the Ravens defense is extremely talented. Like their offense is kind of at a loss this year, but like their defense is really good. So like when you put a good defense against a good offense, especially with good coaching, it's going to be tough to score. So I think that's what ended up happening. The interesting thing for me though is, I mean, the Ravens offense was still in a position to win the game. Like it's not like they should have realistically not been able to score. And you know, I know the Bengals defense really won them the game with that touchdown return, which was a great play by I think it was Wilson was their linebacker who hit the ball down.
Hubbard.
Well, Hubbard returned it. It was Wilson, right?
Can I just talk on that play for a second? That play,
sure.
So many intricacies, things going on. So first of all, they're on I'll call it the 1.5 yard line, a long yard. And you saw Trevor Lawrence actually do his little stick his hand over the goal line thing. He's done it like a couple weeks in a row.
I think Lawrence was closer though than that.
Well, no, that's what the first thing I was going to say. I think Lawrence was closer. Second of all, I think Lawrence is way lengthier than Huntley. But so first of all, I think that play call was questionable. I mean, that play call is risky. When you put that ball out there, you know it's getting knocked. It's whether it crosses the plane first or not. That play call, in my opinion, was just that play call in general for me is unnecessarily risky. But in that situation, in that game, super risk.
If you're within the one, I don't hate that call if you have a length or if you have a tall QB that has length.
Yeah,
I think that the play call within the one is good, but anywhere past the one, I think it's dumb, like you're saying. But
football IQ by Logan Wilson on this play was incredible. Logan Wilson somehow
Just go. We're good.
Logan Wilson somehow, in that split snap second knee jerk play, was able to identify that. He wasn't burrowing down underneath. He was jumping over top. And he met him right at the top and slapped that ball perfectly. It lands in Sam Hubbard's hands. The Ohio State Buckeye, the Ohio high school football product, Sam Hubbard, lands right in his hands and that boy takes off. Now that's about a 300-pound man taking off. He got up to 17 miles an hour on that run back, 98 yards. I think now officially coined the rumble through the jungle.
See, my thing is that block at the end looked a little suspicious on Mark Andrews.
Now, I agree. Now, let's put this in context. Sam Hubbard was running 17 miles an hour. Mark Andrews came fucking flying.
He was zooming. That's what I'm saying. Like, he got blocked in the back, and that's the only reason I think that was a touchdown.
I don't think... I think it was a good no call, and I agree with it. Because their contact it wasn't an egregious...
Oh, yeah, I agree it wasn't the worst block in the back ever.
The block in the back penalty is most often called when the guy's going kind of like an opposite direction of the runner or sideways from the runner gets pushed in the back. Very rarely is block in the back called if the defender and the guy running are running in the exact same direction. But even more so, their contact almost looked more incidental. Like, obviously his hands were there and he was running, but like...
Here's my thing. In the NFL... when you put your hands up, that means you know you've done wrong.
No, that means you think you were in a situation
where
it could be perceived.
No. If you put your hands up in the NFL, like, I didn't do it. Like I am usually, it's
usually you think you've done something, or you think you could.
And my point is his hands go up immediately. Blocks the guy, blocks Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews stumbles, and his hands go like, I didn't do nothing. Like he knew immediately.
I think in fairness, but I think George's point is valid though.
Oh, sure,
he's doing that to just make it clear on himself, hey, maybe he just felt him touch him. He's like, hey, I didn't touch him.
Sure,
he knows if he gets a penalty,
it doesn't mean you're guilty.
It
is a sign to say I didn't mean this. That's what it's not what it looks like. It wasn't me. I get that is. But I feel like the way just watching the play, I feel like it made me feel like I don't get me wrong, I'm not a Ravens fan or anything. I think the Bengals in the playoffs is much better for the numbers going forward, especially with this Lamar holdout. Well, I don't know if you can even call it a holdout, but
no, I actually, this is my take on the game, which I think is, aside from the Bengals winning, which is obviously the biggest takeaway, I think. The second biggest takeaway is honestly the Ravens kind of proved this game that it might be better for them if they don't sign Lamar Jackson to a insane deal, because they can be competitive and without him. And I think the cap number Lamar wants is not worth it.
I don't think you would call this year competitive. Second Lamar got hurt. They had a losing record. They were in the lead of the division by a game or two before he was hurt. They lost the division, lost in the wild card round, had a losing record with Huntley. I don't call
what was their record with Huntley?
Lamar experiment a success. I could figure out. Someone figure out.
Okay. Let me explain my reasoning, because I think you're not understanding the point I'm making. I agree with you that yes, Lamar created more success for them, right? And Huntley isn't their primary answer. I agree with you. But what I'm saying is, I also think this game, showing that they can be competitive with a team that's arguably the best in the AFC, or if not one of the best, right? I know it's a division rival, they play each other 3 times, whatever. I think the team is realizing that they don't need to pay Lamar more, because Lamar wants more than Deshaun Watson. He's been on the record saying he wants to get paid more money than Watson, and he wants it all guaranteed. That's it. That's what he wants.
Someone's gonna pay him. It better be the Ravens who want a future.
I think they're better without him. I think they're better as an organization without him.
So real quick, Huntley went 2-4 in games that. I didn't include the game where Lamar played some of the games.
Who did he play?
Okay, 2 losses to the Bengals, a loss to the Steelers, a loss to the Browns, and then he beat.
So 4 division games, which we all just spoke about how hard those are to win.
His 2 wins were the Broncos and the Falcons.
2 teams you should probably beat.
So yeah, but like I said, I don't think Huntley's the answer. I just think paying Lamar Jackson north of $40 million does not win you anything.
He's an NFL MVP.
Okay, yeah, that was
A
what,
young
2 or 3 years
NFL
ago.
MVP. Dude, he's a 25-year-old NFL MVP. I don't know why he wouldn't be one of the top paid quarterbacks in the league.
No, my point, I'm not. I don't think James is disagreeing that he should be a top paid quarterback in the league. I think James is saying that the Ravens can do a lot more with a lot less.
Yes, that is my point. I think the Ravens are better
By
off
what logic?
improving their roster.
Because they've shown that with a bummy quarterback, they could do what they have done and get into the playoffs and survive. So if they just if you go get like a veteran signee, or you'd go draft somebody.
No, that's not the league we live in anymore, guys. Look at all the quarterbacks left. Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. If you're not one of those guys, especially in the AFC, you're not going anywhere. The Ravens could not go win in the AFC North.
Yeah, but I don't think Lamar Jackson's good enough on his own, because if you pay him that much money, you're going to have to gut a lot of the roster, which is a very fair point to make, because that's what happens. Because if you pay him,
James, we played this that much. Who did we gut?
Okay, again,
Well,
I mean,
What else long before Deshaun was here?
I don't know the Browns' cap situation.
and again, like you said, the Browns have a lot of cap space, so it's nice that they have a lot to burn.
The Chiefs paid Patrick Mahomes $500
Well,
million.
that's different. Patrick Mahomes has proved this year that he doesn't need crazy weapons like Tyreek Hill. I mean, don't get me wrong,
he has
he has
Travis
Kelsey.
Kelce. They got rid of Tyreek Hill instead of paying him because they couldn't afford to pay him.
That's my point.
They offered to pay Tyreek Hill. Tyreek wanted to go to Miami.
Sure, but despite that, they're still the most explosive offense.
Yeah, because a quarterback is more important than a wide receiver.
But that's our point.
But-
Lamar doesn't make you that explosive.
Oh my gosh, yes he does, guys. The
you
Ravens
watched
were
him-
leading the AFC North before he got injured.
Hey, what's Lamar's record against the Steelers?
Okay, I don't give a fuck about the Steelers.
Why are you talking about the AFC North?
But I think the
record.
I think the other issue, though, George, is like you're looking at his record like as a whole when he's been healthy. The last years he's been hurt. Like you're gonna pay this dude $40+ million off of back-to-back years he's been injured when he should have been playing.
And let's also not say it's not like I'm going to argue almost every single year Lamar's been in the league, they've had like a top 10 defense.
That's pretty true. I think that's probably pretty
Lamar
dependable.
Jackson, 49-21. He has a 70% win percentage.
Yeah.
I wonder what Justin Herbert is, because I'm going to talk about this a little bit. Justin Herbert's 25-24. Justin Herbert has more losses than Lamar Jackson and half the fucking wins.
Hey, who do you think had a better surrounding team?
Justin Herbert! The Chargers have the most stacked fucking roster in the NFL.
That's this year, dude.
Yeah.
This year. They did that this year. If you go back to his...
Joey Bosa, Derwin James, Asante Samuel, Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler.
Okay,
all right,
again,
and so like if you'd like me to go through the Ravens, would you like me to go through the Ravens defensive players that he's...
Who does Lamar have?
Mark Andrews. I'm sorry the Ravens are hurt 24/7, and I don't know but like Dobbins is pretty good from my understing.
Dobbins and Edwards
it's not
are good.
Bateman is supposed to be good, but he's been on IR a year. You gave away one of your top performing receivers. Like I agree, the Ravens have made some bad choices.
A bottom 10 skill room around him, and easily his number one option was
because they're hurt.
Who?
I mean, when he the
whole running back core,
lighting it up with Hollywood,
and him.
The running back core, even when it's healthy, is not that great.
Whoa!
That's such a bad take.
Oh, okay. Want to go through running back rooms? Let's sit here and go through every running back room.
The Ravens running back core has been one of the best in the league for like 5 years. Like maybe like there's not one.
For 150 yards.
We're talking running backs.
Yeah. How do you think they only excel because Lamar excels? Let's go through every NFL team and say whose running back room you'd rather have.
But again, dude, you're talking about Lamar excelling. Even if you want to use that argument, which again we've talked about that, like he's been hurt for 2 years now.
Sure.
Like the dude hasn't stayed healthy. and he's a running quarterback that's had leg injuries for two
James,
straight years.
James, you've been on the Lamar hate train since he's been drafted, but
He's not that good of a thrower. He succeeds with his legs.
James, Lamar. Let's look at some Lamar stats.
Dude, George, you just
Lamar
got done
has-
explaining how he opens up the run game with his run threat. Like, you can't go both sides of this. Like, he's not the best thrower and runner of all time.
I'm not saying he's the best thrower of all time, but I'm saying he's a good thrower of the football, the best running quarterback ever, and an NFL MVP at 25 years old.
Okay, that's great, dude. Cam Newton won MVP and then went on to have like one more good season and then was bad. Like,
You can win.
okay, that's great that
The
he won an
MVP doesn't.
Good for him.
You are not the sole winner of your MVP. That is being lucky enough to have a defense to get you on the field enough. That's having players around you to throw the ball to. That is having a coach that actually utilizes you properly. That is like that is so much more than just you being good.
And George, Aaron Rodgers won the back-to-back MVPs, and he had a terrible year this year. Just because you win the MVP does not mean you're guaranteed success going forward.
No, but one of it does mean if you win an MVP when you're 25 years old, that means I'm going to do what I have to do to re-sign you, because if I move off of you and have this team that's going to perennially win 8 or 9 games, I'm never going to find a quarterback to lead this team to get through Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, and Joe Burrow to even sniff a Super Bowl.
What's his record against them? Because I think he has a losing record against them all.
Let's talk about this. Lamar Jackson has a 70% win percentage in his career. He has a 6.1 touchdown to interception ratio. He has a 96.7 career passer rating.
He has a what career passer rating? What was the career one?
96.7 career passer rating.
Okay.
And
Again, what's his? You're talking about paying this dude money like he's the best QB in the league. So what's his record against the best QBs in the league? I guarantee you it's a losing record.
Lost. Let's
Google. What's Lamar Jackson's record over these 4 QBs? Like Lamar Jackson's
I could just
football games in the NFL in the AFC North, which is a hard division.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going like Chiefs. He lost to his rookie year. He lost to the Chiefs again the year after.
Lamar Jackson's won one game versus the Chiefs. He won one game.
I don't need to pull out a specific game here, specific game here.
Well, no, because you just said you're hiring Lamar Jackson for one reason, and it's to beat those guys. So if he can't beat those guys, why are you hiring him?
He can't. He could win in the NFL. That's what he does. He's
okay. So why is he 1-5 against the guy you said he needs to beat?
He's a 1-5 against who?
The Chiefs.
He's 1-3.
Oh,
he's won one game.
Okay.
I was just hoping they played once a season.
Graham's knocking on my fucking door.
No worries. But my point is here, I just think, like, don't get me wrong. I don't think he's a bad thrower. I don't think he's bad. But, like, to go out of your way and say, like, he should probably be paid as much as he is short. Like, my point is you could buy a quarterback for half the price that could throw the ball better than Lamar.
No, you cannot.
I'm gonna agree with you because Lamar's hurt too much for me to.
No, hurt is the only thing that I think carries any merit in this debate.
Well, I said it, and you just ignored it. You acted like that wasn't.
No, James, we didn't get around to it because.
No, James has said it. No, we're on record, George. We'll expose you. We'll expose you, George. We're recording.
I wanted to acknowledge. I literally started saying like 2 minutes ago. Now James does have a point with the injury thing, and then I went on to some other tangent and we moved off. I think the injury thing is the only valid point against Lamar, but I'm still paying him and taking that injury risk because if the Ravens move off of him, they will not sniff a Super Bowl or even making their way outside of the AFC North for the next decade.
Well, they're not sniffing a Super Bowl with them. So
yeah, like what's
the argument?
Playoff games.
They've won one playoff game.
That's our point, George. You've had Lamar for 5 years, and you've got to one playoff game.
In his MVP season, they lost to the Tennessee Titans in the wild card round. Like, let's remember that his MVP year, they lost to the Tennessee Titans.
Right, we don't want to bash the Titans here, but that is right, George. When Lamar was playing at his best, he lost to Ryan Tannehill.
I also think Lamar has never had shit for weapons for him.
I mean, he had Hollywood Brown, who proved
Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews doesn't exist.
It's a bottom 10 receiver one.
Mark Andrews doesn't
not
exist.
A receiver one.
I don't know. You can have weapons to be an MVP and be the first seed in the AFC.
Was Hollywood Brown even on that team, or did he get drafted after?
He was on that.
Yeah, and I think they had like
Well,
Miles.
that's
Don't get me
good.
Miles Boykin played some ball for them. Like they have some names up there. They have names go through there, George. They got names go through there.
I mean, Mark Andrews is a legitimate like top 2 tight end in the league, and Hollywood Brown is a very good receiver.
And they've. I mean,
Hollywood Brown is a wide receiver 2 in the NFL, and absolutely
They
nothing more.
did not have weapons on that team. They had a great
No, he's not, dude. What do you mean Hollywood
Hollywood
Brown's
Brown
a
is a
wide receiver 2?
2.
He's
Absolutely
not though. That's not true. He played
Well,
amazing. He made amazing this year before he got hurt.
And then D Hop came in and said, "This is my fucking offense."
Because he was hurt, George.
He came back. And then when he came back, D Hop said, "This is my fucking offense."
If you're gonna,
Okay, DeAndre Hopkins is better than him. Okay, like
Exactly.
DeAndre Hopkins is better than most receivers in the league.
We want to go through every NFL team and talk about who their receiver 1 is and who you'd rather have, them or Hollywood Brown. Because I guarantee.
Okay, but
we'll
you
get through
said
25
Hollywood Brown's a wide receiver 2 in the league. There's a lot of teams who would use him as a wide receiver 1.
I think there's about 6.
I disagree. I don't think we need to go through that because that will take too much time.
we're getting
but I
really
think-
in depth on this Lamar.
Yeah,
talk. We're-
yeah. I think we've made our points clear. Nader and I believe they should move off. George doesn't.
Well,
Let's
no,
move
don't
on
get me
to-
wrong. I think they should keep him because I love beating Lamar. Give me a quarterback the Steelers can have a winning record against. Like again, he just doesn't perform against good teams. That's what I think. I would love to see him stay against a league that I think I agree. The AFC North is tough. I think it's probably the best, if not one of the top 3 divisions in football. And I think going forward, it's going to get tougher, especially with an aging Kenny Pickett, Deshaun Watson getting active, and Joe Burrow playing the way he does. But the point of the matter is, if you look at Lamar Jackson's record against his divisional teams, he does bad. If you look at Lamar Jackson's record against tough teams, he does bad. I agree. Lamar Jackson will beat the Falcons and he'll beat the Broncos every day of the week, George. He's consistently going to beat the good. No, but he'll if they had Lamar Jackson, they'll win those games. There'll be no doubt about it. Sure. When it comes to the tough games, I don't think Lamar's proven himself. And that could be he hasn't had the chance to do so.
Lamar is an extreme talent.
I
He
agree.
hasn't had a lot of talent around him,
Like,
and if they move off of him, if they run Huntley for a year, and then they win 6-7 games and don't have a great draft pick, and they're going to put themselves in a perpetual cycle of not being able.
Again,
to
I don't think you start Huntley as your QB1. I'm just saying I don't think you pay Lamar.
no, you buy somebody.
you can
You
go out and
take
get a
your
QB.
$40 million cap space that you get from not having Lamar.
Who are you going to buy?
Go get Derek Carr for like 10 to 15
Yeah.
million less. You can
Yep.
do that.
I would literally rather like
Derek Carr is not signing a contract for that cheap. Let's start there.
he might be for like 30 though.
Yeah, that's like 30. That's between 30 and 45 mil is what he'd probably go for, somewhere in that range. And he's leaving the Raiders, and he's not going to get traded. So if
I
they
mean,
want
and
to sign
it's
him,
not like
trade.
there aren't people moving because Baker's still available.
Yeah, they're going to win a lot with Baker.
No, I'm not saying they will, but I'm saying I think it'd be an improvement over Huntley, and you don't have to pay them a lot of money.
I think that team is better with someone like Derek Carr, or even if you want to argue like Jimmy Garoppolo.
I was going to
that
say
Kirk
Jimmy G
Cousins
is another
type.
name that sticks out here.
Like I think like that Kirk Cousins type of guy with a good O line, and then you pay receivers would be better than Lamar at like $50 million without receivers.
We've made it abundantly clear where we stand.
Yeah, for sure. So
Well,
I
yeah,
think we
but
could move
I-
on to the next stuff.
No, I think we move on. We stay in the AFC though. We finish that out. I think we talk about the Bills Miami game because I want to say I was very impressed with this game. This game was so much better than I ever thought it would be. I thought the Bills would just crush Miami, and Mike McDaniel's put together a freaking game plan, and their defense played. They just had a good game. Miami played well. They lost, but they played really well.
Are we saying we had a close playoff game when two teams met for the third time in a season?
Okay, but George,
Oh.
they were playing their third string quarterback.
Yeah.
Like that's a lot different than
Right.
playing their primary backup.
No, that's not that much different.
Here's my point, George. Here's my point before you're going with this.
Is.
George,
Oh,
here's
no,
my
it's
point.
not.
Before we even get into this, here's my point, George. If you would have told me the Dolphins were going to score that many points on the Bills after not being able to put up a touchdown against the Jets without Sauce Gardner, like, I would have called you crazy. After watching that Jets-Miami game, I did not think there was a snowball's chance in hell that this Miami game was even close. I agree with James, the same thing, but particularly if you can't put up a touchdown against an injured Jets D, how is it that you can do this to Buffalo?
It was impressive.
2 words for you. They're not Skylar Thompson. It's Mike McDaniel.
No, but where was that against the Jets? That's my point. Where was that against the Jets?
He was hiding it.
I guess. I mean, for George again, but let's go back to George's revisionist history because he also picked the Bills to minus 13.5 for this game. So like, let's not act, George. Let's not
I have
act
the
like
same
you knew
logic
this
as
game would be
Snyder.
close.
No, I have the same logic as Snyder.
They almost
But
lost to the
you
Jets.
were like, oh, how can this game? Like, of course, this game was close. It's a third divisional matchup. Like, bro, don't act like you knew this was gonna happen. Like, don't start this.
I'm not acting like he knew.
I think he's just saying
I'm
we're not
acting
surprised.
surprised.
Yeah. And so,
I'm
I
100%
think,
surprised.
I think it was more Josh Allen playing bad than Mike McDaniels playing good, I think.
I think it was a combination of both.
Josh was throwing some balls away from his receivers, which made it very easy to pick off.
Josh has not looked hot.
No, he hasn't. He's gotten a little cold going into this playoff, and
My thing with that though is like, the Bills have played like, I mean, the game that they ended the year with against the Patriots, he played well, but like you're right, like the last probably stretch of 4-ish games, he hasn't played great, but they haven't played great, and he hasn't played great, and they've won.
Yeah.
Which, if he can catch some fire here, like now if he stays cold, I don't think they beat the Chiefs or the Bengals. I agree, but they have proven now that they can win tough games with him playing really bad.
I don't want to get too ahead of us here. I looked at the spread of that game. They have the Bills by minus 5.5.
It's the Bills versus the Bengals, right? It's minus 5.5.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And I know we're one to talk, but like I would have thought that was like a one or 2 point game. They have the Bills winning this one.
They're spotting the Bills 3 points for being at home and then saying it's a 2.5 point.
I mean, that's
which
fine.
I think is fair. Playing Bills at home is a tough game, but
Especially in the playoff.
But my point is everyone seems so confident in the Bills, where their leader, we don't seem to be that confident in at the moment.
I think Josh Allen is an extremely good quarterback who has had a bad few games.
Oh, yeah. I mean, but like...
What I'm saying is being a little cold and then running into the Bengals in the playoffs isn't optimal.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah.
No, it's not. But I also think there's something to be said about, like, and this is not to, use the Damar Hamlin situation and, to talk about it as, fuel for the fire or whatever like that. Like, we're all happy he's okay, That's what's the most important thing. But I think for that team, right, you just have had such an emotional roller coaster throughout that week. Like, you find out right before the Patriots game that he's, is okay for the most part. Like, he doesn't have neurological damage. His heart's working. He can breathe. We can talk to you. You find that out. You have this incredible game, and then then you kind of come off of that emotional high. I just think they hit a very low point. And I think they really needed the bye week. I think the bye week would have been really good for them because I think they needed to come off of that emotional roller coaster, that up and down. And I think it showed in the Miami game. I just think there was some sloppy play. Part of it's probably they're cold, but I think part of it's also they're just going through a really weird time as an NFL team, and they're trying to figure it out. And I'm not going to count them out against the Bengals. So
no,
I think
I wouldn't do that either.
Sorry.
I was going to say no, but you're good to go. Sorry.
No, I'm just saying. I just think that emotional roller coaster plays a big deal into it, and I think now they're off it to an extent. I think maybe we'll see that Bills team that we're used to seeing.
My question.
I could be wrong.
No, and my thing is I've sort of looked at this Damar situation too, and I've been like, this if Shazier got hurt and he was able to come back into the stadium for a postseason game, oh my gosh, the Steelers would go insane. Does Damar? Is he still in the hot? Has he been released?
I'm pretty sure he's been released.
And so my question: is he able to attack? Not even. I'm not saying play or anything like that, or even suit up. But will Damar Hamlin be in the building this week?
They might give him a box.
And that's what I'm saying is if Damar Hamlin's in the building, I have a hard time betting anything but the Bills. I think that first play, the touch against the Patriots, the return, there's something magical about that team right now. And, people like to joke that the NFL's rigged and all that, and I'm not even saying it is with this, but it felt like that was meant to happen when they returned that first kick, And if DeMar gets back in and kicks a fire in this city, in this fan base, I think they have a really good push going forward.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Now, this is a game, I think this next one, that I was surprised about because the G-Men took it to the Vikings. I know everyone's been saying the Vikings are a fraud. It's been predicted for a while. I did not expect Daniel Dimes to be a
Daniel
playoff.
Dimes had a game.
I did not expect a playoff win out of Daniel Dimes. I'm sure you could go into it a little more, Georgie.
Daniel Dimes. First of all, close game all around. The game never pulled away either way. Kind of boring a little bit, back and forth. But Danny Dimes, man. Let me pull some stats up real quick here, but he played absolutely, I can't state how well he played. It was unfathomable. And I don't care if it's Daniel Dimes or Tom Brady. The dude went 24 for 35 for 301, averaging 8.6 yards a pass attempt, not even completion, 2 touchdowns.
Didn't he have a good rushing game, too? I feel like he rushed
and then rushed for 78 yards on 4.6 yards a carry.
No, Danny Dimes played well, and I have to say, Kyle Shanahan deserves Coach of the Year this year, but, Brian Daboll is a close second to that. My man has turned that team around. If you're a Giants fan, you should be excited to have Brian Daboll as your head coach for the foreseeable future. That dude can coach.
And I think when I predicted the Giants over the Vikings, I said, give me Brian Daboll. I think that was my big distinguishing factor. I don't know much about that McConnell guy up there in Minnesota, but
McConnell's a good coach.
Brian Daboll, maybe the New Yorker.
No, I really think where the Vikings lost this game is just because I think if I remember right, my analysis was more so I just think the weapons for the Vikings were better than the Giants, and that's why I thought they would win. But the real difference maker was the defense for the Vikings. They just were non-existent, and as the old adage, defense wins championships, defense shows up in the playoffs. That could not have been more true for this game. The Giants defense just played a little bit better than the Vikings. The Vikings defense couldn't stop the Giants no matter what they did. And, I'm not taking anything away from Daniel Jones. I think he had a great game. So I think Saquon had a good game too, but their offense played well. I'm not going to take anything away from them. But the Vikings defense played bad. Let's not ignore the fact that their defense played awful. And that hindered them considerably because, as much as everyone wants to hate on Kirk Cousins, I don't remember the exact stats. I don't have them out right now. Georgia would probably say, I don't think Kirk Cousins had a bad game either. I think he played pretty well overall.
Dude, Kirk Cousins, 31 for 39 for 273, 2 touchdowns, no picks.
Yeah, and people are gonna make fun of him for that for the last play of the game, throwing it short. And it is a very Kirk Cousins-esque thing to do, to throw it short on 4th and 8, throw a 4-yard out. But
picture perfect Kirk Cousins.
But in the press conference, the way he laid it out, I can understand why he threw the ball. Because what he said was, I went through all my progressions. No one was open except Hawkinson underneath, and I thought I was going to get sacked. And I knew if I get sacked, the game's over. So I threw it to him hoping he can make a play. And so I can understand if you think you're going – I don't remember if he was close to getting sacked or not. I do think at that point there was pressure coming, so maybe he was correct in getting rid of the ball there.
No,
you can argue maybe – maybe he should have taken a deep shot, but I understand the logic of get the ball out so that we at least have a chance to
There's
win.
a big Joe Burrow interview where he says the exact same thing, where I think it was after his first season, he had a lot of interceptions and people were sort of critiquing him on that, and he's just interceptions are a bad stat to critique on. I think he said were his words, because you got to look at when the interceptions happen. If you're throwing an interception at a Hail Mary, that's completely it's the end of the half, Just looking at interceptions alone doesn't make it bad. Especially too, if you get sacked and the game's over, you might as well just heave it.
I have to say, look, if you just look at the box sheet, you don't understand how the Vikings lost, because Kirk Cousins, I guess, almost damn near perfect passer rating, 2 touchdowns, no picks. The Vikings had no fumbles. Kirk Cousins was sacked 0 times. Like, what went wrong? No turnovers, no sacks, barely any incomplete passes. How'd you only score 24, first of all? Second of all,
Oh
what
no,
went
you look
wrong?
at stats like that all the time, and you like look at Tom Brady's stats this game and be like, how did you only score 17 points? He threw
Yeah.
for like 300 yards, 50 passes. Like how are you playing that much offense and only put up 20 points? Like,
No, yeah, and that's what I mean when I say like I think it's just the Vikings defense could not come up with a stop. Like that was the difference in this game. Like both teams played really well. It was really close. Like the offenses both were humming. I mean, but the Giants defense just played a little bit better, and they played enough to win them the game. The Vikings didn't play bad. It was a close game, and the Giants should be proud of winning it. But you know, it's not like the Vikings just choked completely. Everyone said they should have won, sure, but it's not like it's not like they were the Chargers and they were up by 27 and lost. And they lost. It was a close game throughout. They played hard. Kirk Cousins didn't have a bad game. It was just two good coaches playing each other, and the difference was the defense, which, like I said earlier, that's kind of what can make or break you in the playoffs.
for sure. And with that, we've got one more game left. I think this was actually the earliest one. It's weird we put it at the end. But this one, again, wasn't that much of a contest. It was a little more exciting at the beginning, I feel like. Sweating it a little bit for the Niners there after that Seahawks performance in the first half. I think the story was there for Geno. I feel like there were a lot of people pulling for the Geno story. Sadly unable to come through. I forget the exact final score of that game. But the Niners are just the most complete team in the NFL, I think.
They have one hole on their team.
It's the guy, and he's doing enough. He's playing football. He's playing football.
Yeah, literally, if you put, oh my gosh, sometimes I just think about Justin Fields being on the 49ers this year and get upset. I mean.
Yeah,
But,
no.
I don't have a lot to say about this one. I was driving during most of it. The 49ers are the best team outside of quarterback in football.
I mean, what's crazy about this game? Sorry, I had to move positions. But
No worries.
what's crazy about this game is going into halftime, Seattle was up by one. The game was really
the game.
No, it reflects the second half because the second half the 49ers just played some of the best football that I've seen. I mean, they just outclassed Seattle in the second half. It went from being this really competitive, close game, back and forth. Purdy's making a play, Geno's making a play. There's Debo Samuel, Metcalf. All these guys are making plays, and then the 49ers just shut them down. And it's just amazing to me how you can literally go from scoring 16 at half or 16 in the first half to then finishing the game with 41 and then holding the Seattle a touchdown in the second half. That's incredible. And especially considering, like I said, I watched most of the game. I didn't watch the very end because San Fran just pulled away. But just watching how that game shifted in a single half was incredible. And like you guys have said, the 49ers are the most complete team in football. And they have a guy that runs their team well in Brock Purdy. He doesn't do anything special necessarily. He makes some good throws here and there, but he just runs that team. He knows where the ball should go, and he lets his team make the plays. And, that's all you need to do sometimes.
Yep. All right. Well, Nighter, you misspoke a little bit.
Oh
earlier.
no, because this one's different. This one's
different.
special. Because oh my God, did it look like we were losing this game for the neighborhood watch team?
In the first half, I'm going loud. Call an ambulance.
But can I get a little Duval for the boys coming back? Absolute crazy game. Again, like I said earlier, winning me $700 on the week. Thank you, Duval, for funding the Nighters. It was great all around. It was a fun game to watch at the end. I remember us texting while it was. There's no way. This can't be happening. It was
an incredible comeback win by Jacksonville.
And I think it shows one big thing for me. Trevor Lawrence can play the worst football of his life, and he's still going to win on Saturday. He's still going to win on Saturday.
Shout out before we get back into the game. Right when they finish the game, first thing this dude's thinking about Trevor Lawrence. He's like, "Come on, we gotta go to Waffle House."
That was sick. That was freaking awesome.
I was like,
was
"Dude,
so cool.
I want to go to Waffle House right now."
That's just so fucking cool. I mean, that's just such that's incredible. Like the fact that's real is so funny.
Oh yeah, dude. He said like his wife called and got like, she was like, I guess trying to make a reservation at the Waffle. He claims he got the first ever reservation at a Waffle House. His wife called. She's like, "Yeah, we want to bring in like 20 Jacksonville Jaguars players. Can we like make this work?" And they're like, "Yes, we can make this work."
Like we'll kick people out right now. Just let us. Let them
Our staff will fight everyone in this Waffle House right now. We will clear out the room.
So Trevor and about 20 of his teammates went over to the Waffle House after the win, and because it all started because Brandon Sheriff had never had Waffle House before.
Brandon Sheriff, what a legend.
James, your boy got a playoff win.
He did get a playoff win. It's so funny. There's like a stupid stat out there of like, and I lived this stat, like of just Washington O linemen that were in the playoffs this week, and 2 of them won. It just kind of hurt. Because like you just would just randomly see like Trent Williams, playing for the 49ers, and then Brandon Sheriff for the Jaguars. And
Dude,
then
you guys had Trent Williams and Brandon Sheriff right now.
I blame. The Brandon Sheriff thing was we offered him money to be the highest paid guard in the league, but he wanted more money and Jacksonville could pay him more, so that's why he went there. But the Trent Williams thing, I will forever be angry at Dan Snyder and Bruce Allen for that one. But anyway, Trevor Lawrence going to Waffle House was really cool. Great way to celebrate a win, to be fair.
But let's talk about the other half of this game real quick. Justin Herbert and the Los Angeles Chargers. First of all,
we were talking about this before the show. I think if you blame this game on Justin Herbert, you didn't watch the game or you don't know about football.
Nope. Let's get something straight. When your football team loses with a 27-point lead, everyone sucked. Every single person on that field sucked. If one person on that field didn't suck, you don't blow the 27-point lead. It's almost as simple as that. Quarterback is the most influential position on a football field by a long shot.
I mean, yeah, but you
George,
also just like the quarterback just can't go out there and run whatever plays he wants most of the
Quarterback
time.
could go out there and score 6 more points.
I mean, not if your offensive coordinator's telling you to do something stupid.
I mean,
I don't want to hear the offensive coordinator bullshit. The offensive coordinator scored 27 points in the first half.
Yeah, he also doesn't have a job because of the second.
Yeah, he also doesn't have a job.
Brandon Staley shouldn't have a job. I complained about Brandon Staley last week.
Brandon Staley also shouldn't have a job.
No, we agree. We all agree there. I think
Brandon Staley shouldn't have a job.
But that's why I think that's why they lost this week, not Herbert.
Justin Herbert laid an absolute goose egg in the second half, and there's no way around this.
I think but my point is the whole team is. So if you can't blame it on Justin Herbert.
He had a 45.9 QBR in the game. He only had 1 touchdown, 6.3 yards per attempt. But let's move this to the meta picture.
No, I mean let's look at no because you talk about. I mean, if you want to look at QBR and rating, let's compare it because Justin Herbert had a 45.9 QBR. You're right. It had an 84.9 or 84.7 rating. Trevor Lawrence had a 31.6 QBR and a 70.2 rating.
Because Trevor Lawrence, he threw 4 picks early in this game, right?
Wait.
Trevor Lawrence picked up his damn bootstraps, said I'm a winner, and went and threw 4 touchdowns.
Wait, so why is
Justin Herbert also threw for 0.2 average yards. They threw for about the same yards per attempt too. So I don't you can
Trevor
blame
Lawrence
Herbert.
did not have a good game. Trevor Lawrence will be the first person to stand up here and tell you I didn't have a good game. I threw 4 interceptions. But the fact of the matter is,
I don't think Herbert's going to say he had a great game either.
Yeah, he's going to say he had a bad game, and Justin Herbert would probably blame the loss on himself, but people are still going to sit here and defend Justin Herbert.
Because, dude, if you look at the stats of this game, Justin Herbert wasn't the reason they lost. You can't expect to win the game rushing for 67 yards total.
And I don't mean – I like to support the boys as much as we do, but I sort of agree with some of Bosa's anger at the end. Those refs definitely let Duval back in. If there was one game that it looked like the NFL was pushing an agenda this week, it was the Jacksonville Jaguars getting back in that game.
But
no,
here's the matter. Justin Herbert played terrible in the second half. Is Justin Herbert the only reason they lost? No. Is he the biggest reason they lost? Probably not, but he's 100% a reason they lost.
The thing I will give you is that there were, and I watched this entire game, so I will give you that Justin Herbert didn't play the best game of his career, but he didn't play the worst. There were, in my opinion, 3 throws that weren't necessarily his fault, but probably were like if you want to blame the game on him, that were probably his fault. 2, he missed 3 throws in the end zone that he could have either made a better decision on, or the defensive. Well, let me just be like this. So one of the throws in the end zone, he went to his first read, which wasn't open. He should have made a better decision, and the receiver dropped the ball. That's on Herbert. He should have made a better read there. Another play when they were on like the 10, he missed a wide open receiver in the end zone. Should have made the throw. Give you that. And then on the 3rd missed pass, he threw a perfect ball, but the defender made a really good play and knocked it down. So like there are 3 passes that should have probably been touchdowns, one of which was just a good defensive play, so I'm not going to blame him, but if you want to, fine, because he maybe could have thrown it slightly better. But like there were 2 throws that he missed. Okay. But if you're going to say like the dude had no turnovers, had basically an identical game statistically to Trevor Lawrence, and was the reason they lost, I don't think you have watched the game. Their field kicker also missed the kick.
Herbert is I don't know if you clearly heard what I said. I said, is Justin Herbert the only reason they lost? No. Is he the biggest reason they lost? No. But is he a reason they lost?
Oh, sure, yeah. I mean,
but dude, but you can argue that like in every loss,
but you're not making. That's like what point are you trying to make here, George? Yes, if you played in the football game and you lost, you contributed to the loss. I agree.
Quarterback's like the influential position on the field. When you lay a goose egg in the second half and you don't do anything in the second half of a playoff game, just not throwing interceptions isn't going to win you a game. But I want to take this a little more meta, and I have a theory that I'm never going to deny Justin Herbert's a talented guy. He's one of the top 5 most talented quarterbacks in the league right now. But the dude's just not a winner. Let's start in high school, his senior year. Doesn't make it past the first round of the playoffs. Let's go to college. His first season at Oregon, he had a losing season. Second season at Oregon, it was like an season. His losing season wasn't great. Third year at Oregon, he did get to he got over a 10-win season finally. He had an okay year that year, but he didn't make the college football playoff. He comes into the NFL. He goes 25-24 in his first, been 3 years of starting? He's sitting right around 500. He finally sneaks into the playoffs with this uber talented Chargers team and goes.
That's been hurt all year.
He goes and blows a 27-point lead to the Jacksonville Jaguars, who were drafting first overall last year.
Yeah, I can't think of any injuries that would have affected them, even in this game. Surely.
No, not in this game.
I mean, Mike Williams.
But George is talking about. Yeah, Mike Williams was actually a huge loss. But
Trevor Lawrence throwing the ball to Marvin Jones Jr.
I mean, yeah, he's throwing to Zay Jones and Christian Kirk, who have been really good this year. But
and don't forget Evan Ingram actually playing football this year.
But if George is going to make the argument that Justin Herbert isn't a winner, he's leaving out so much context for his first years in the NFL. Like, there is so much context that George has left out of this argument that only that is the reason that makes it true.
You want to go through a line of injuries in his first 3 years? I don't care about that, because guess what? If Justin Herbert were to do what he's done his first 3 years,
yeah, no, George, we are very obviously aware you don't care about injuries when analyzing your players. We just had the Lamar debate.
You can't say, oh, Justin Herbert's had a bad 3 years because injury.
That's not what I was trying to say.
I mean, you could. Technically, I argue you can. I mean,
well, this year specifically, just.
I think the point James is trying to make is you're saying he's had talent. Yeah. You're saying that he's had talent. In the 1 year he's had talent, they've been injured, and every year he didn't have talent, they've still dealt with injuries.
First of all, he's had talent the whole time he's been there.
No, he hasn't, George. He got drafted. Keenan Allen and Mike Williams have been there.
Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and Austin Eckler have been there the whole time he's been there.
George, the roster that he had there during his first year, when I think had 5 wins when he got drafted.
Trevor Lawrence and Joe Burrows had 2, and they're winning playoff games already.
Trevor Lawrence was on the 2-win team.
Neither was Justin Herbert.
Yeah, and he got talent. And guess what happened when he got talent? He got up to 9 wins. Guess what happened when Justin Herbert got talent? They got the
Bengals
10
don't
wins.
have any offensive talent other than Joe Burrow. I can't think of anybody on the Bengals offense that's
argument-
explosive.
It's incredible, dude.
There's no denying the fact. There's two things I want to say. Justin Herbert so far in his career has not been a winner. And if Justin Herbert, the rest of his career played out like his career's played out so far, he would be remembered for nothing in the NFL besides breaking some rookie passing stats.
I mean, yeah, if you don't have a team to play with your whole NFL career, I would argue it's hard
he
to
has
make
the
a name
most
for yourself.
passing yards ever for the first 3 years of his career, but we'll just ignore that too. I mean, that's who cares about having great passing yard stats? I guess
I
no
can't
one.
see that. No.
Can we see it?
No.
Oh, that's a live look at Justin Herbert's house decor.
Hey, that's a live look at the Browns decor, too.
I'm not saying we're good. We suck. I've watched us suck for 21 years on planet Earth.
So how bad are the Browns then? I mean, the Browns have been around for significantly longer than Justin Herbert.
Yeah, the Browns are
I'm not
winners.
sitting here defending us. We suck. And Justin Herbert's not a winner.
I mean, but again, like, also you brought up like his Oregon days, and like you're like, oh yeah, he had like a 10-win season, but he didn't make the college football playoffs. Like, dude, 4 teams make it. Like, a lot of teams that probably should have been in the playoffs don't make it. Like, okay, I'm not even saying he should have been in that year, but like that's just such a bad argument.
Let's put it this year: if there was an 8-person playoff, would he have been in?
We could go look.
I mean, we'd have to look. I think
Yeah,
so.
but
I think
it's
Oregon
besides-
was like. I think Oregon was a top 8 team, but either way,
These last year, I think I remember they were okay.
No, but it's besides the point because at the end of the day, I agree he doesn't have the best record, but I agree with James, he doesn't have the best team. I think
his head coach got fired after his first year in the league. Like,
there are very few teams in this league that I could name that have a QB I'd rather have. I think there's one. It's Patrick Mahomes.
At the beginning of this season, James was explaining to me how the Chargers were a Super Bowl pick, and he thinks they have the best roster in the league.
Yeah.
I said they could make the Super Bowl. I didn't say they were my Super Bowl pick.
And here's my thing, George. Who do you think in the league is better than Justin Herbert, quarterback? I just want.
You ready?
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes,
Yeah, that's fair.
Josh Allen,
Also fair.
Joe Burrow.
I can understand that. I don't agree, but I can understand that.
I'm on James' side there.
Jalen Hurts.
That is just no.
Yeah.
No, what the that's just oh my.
They've done. Look at what
Jalen
they've
Hurts
done.
has one good year with the second best roster in the NFL, and somehow now he's better than Justin
Wait,
Herbert.
George. Then why isn't
Alright.
Justin Herbert good? Because he had that one good year. Like, having one good year make you a good like?
I'm saying right now, quarterbacks I would take over him. I'm not done either.
These are such bad.
There's
All right, keep
more?
going. Let's
There's
hear it.
more.
He's gonna say Lamar. I know Lamar is gonna come up here
Lamar
too.
Jackson.
That's a terrible take.
Actually, wait,
That's a
am
bad
I saying this for like a season or for like starting a fresh franchise? Those are very different
Season.
things. One season. Okay. I feel like I need to get like a list of QBs.
Oh, there's not more. Stop.
Oh my God.
George.
No, let
Stop.
him dig
Oh
himself
my
into the rabbit
God.
hole. Let him dig himself so deep.
Oh
Because
my
when Justin
God.
Herbert's a top QB in the league.
This is gonna be
or
a
like
TikTok
top-
clip. This has to.
Yeah.
Like,
When Justin Herbert eventually wins an MVP, we're gonna look back on this list.
All right. God damn it! This list is so dumb. I need to find a better. Okay,
Let me
Josh
think of
Allen.
Let me-
For TikTok, you ready? Here's my TikTok introduction. Hello,
Yeah.
TikTok. My name's George, and I'm going to list quarterbacks I'd rather have than Justin Herbert if I wanted to win a Super Bowl next year. Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, Aaron Rodgers,
Oh my God.
You're taking
Trevor-
Aaron Rodgers to this.
Trevor Lawrence,
Oh my God.
and the one, the only, Thomas Brady.
I don't even think we need to react to that, James.
Yeah, I'm just letting George. I think George is high on something right now.
Dude, he's high on whatever Aaron Rodgers is drinking, bro. He must have met up with Aaron in his ayahuasca cabin, bro. Like,
You guys want to know 2 quarterbacks that are going to have a better season than Justin Herbert next year?
Let's hear it.
Kenny Pickett and Deshaun Watson.
let
I
me tell you.
disagree.
Let
completely.
me tell you why I agree with you, but still think you're wrong. Let me tell you why I like that statement.
I can't wait. I can't wait for Deshaun Watson to bust. I just cannot wait.
Let me tell you, I want one thing to happen for the Steelers to make that sentence true. I think there's one thing that needs to happen this offseason, and this might be a good transition into our favorite teams. But
Yeah, we need him.
I thought it was a coach change. But I think there's one change that needs to be made. And this could be my TikTok clip of the thing. You could put me on blast. I want Deontay Johnson out of Pittsburgh. I want him gone. Out of here. Bye-bye. Butterfingers no more. I think...
I can't agree with you more that if you could get some sort of value out of Deontay Johnson, boot him.
No, but my point... I think we've realized it. We targeted Claypool. We talked about it last week. We got our bang for our buck with Claypool. We are starting to target issues in our room, and we're starting to throw them out of there. Deontay Johnson is next.
I don't think Kenny Pickett likes Deontay all that much, to be honest.
I don't think anyone in Pittsburgh does.
Deontay Johnson and Pickett had a nice connection the last 2 weeks.
If the Steelers next year's 3 top options were George Pickens, Pat Freiermuth, and Jordan Addison,
No, don't even get me started. The last 2 games, we didn't throw Muth the ball once. Like, everyone's
is going to be a fantasy target for me next year.
No, but here's my thing. This is the thing,
really
and this is getting into the other Steelers news. So I guess we could talk about that here with my own team. Matt Canada is back for I don't know how long, but
Guess who's back?
No, stop. You sent me the Canada flag, and I was just hoping it was Mapletron. Like I hoped Claypool was back. I hope that's what that meant. Like,
didn't I say Matt?
No,
Matt
you said Canada. You just said Canada.
Yeah.
And then he sent me the picture of the flag, and I just saw the maple leaf, and I'm like, oh, Claypool is back. Thank God. Please. But Matt Canada's back. And in Mike Tomlin's own words regarding the situation, it is because we liked how he looked at the end of the year. If you liked how the Steelers looked at any point this season, I don't know what you were watching, but it wasn't football because we were barely playing any if it wasn't in the fourth quarter. Like, yeah, Matt Canada coaches a mean fourth quarter and, like, maybe a good last game. Maybe.
I think that last stretch of 4 games, I believe it was 4, but whatever win streak you went on, I think he had some bad moments, but I think he definitely had a few good games in that span too.
No,
I think
he's not the worst. It's just like you only notice it. I feel like if you watch we're the only team I know who on 3rd and 8 will run a jet sweep.
No, the Falcons, they might do that.
Okay, but look at their record. I think that says enough about what you need. And don't get me wrong, we got our jet sweep to work a few times. We have ways to make it function. But there are just things Canada does that make you angry if you paid money to go sit and watch the offense he called, because it's just you look at the field and you're like, I know exactly what we're going to do. We're going to come out, we're going to run it with Najee up the middle once, and we're going to get 1 or 2 yards because our offensive line isn't going to block. We're going to then go throw a screen to Deontay or Freiermuth, and they're going to either get 3 yards or drop it and lose 2. And then we're going to either heave it 30 yards on 3rd and long, or we're going to throw it behind the line of scrimmage.
No, Nider, I get it, because the perfect comparison to what you're talking about, not exactly play call for play call, but it's literally Scott Turner is very similar to Matt Canada in the sense of neither one of them is good, but they're not awful. They're just somewhere in the middle to where you could easily replace them, like Washington's doing, or you could keep them because you can make the argument that they have that they can show some stuff. They can show some pizzazz, some talent. Yeah, you can make the argument either way.
If Matt Canada just took his fourth quarter playbook and got 4 copies of it and slapped it together for a game, I think we'd be fine.
I think this is a good transition into Browns' big news, because I think we're in a very similar situation with you. We had Joe Woods, who the first 12 weeks of the season we had the worst defense in the league, but then week 13 through 18, the Browns had the 6th best defense in the league, and you're like, Phil Woods put together a couple games. Maybe he's figuring it out. And the Browns said, nope. We watched what you did weeks 1 through 13. We're not repeating that next year. Get out of here. And I'm so happy we didn't make the mistake you guys made by keeping that person around.
Here's
No,
the thing.
I think you
we've-
guys made a good decision doing that.
I think we've shown we could function with him. He's been here for a while, and if anything, it's been getting better the more he's played with this team. And like he just had a pretty big roster diff swap for the last 2 years in between them. And so, as much as I like to support Canada and I don't want to be overly negative, I've never heard a fan base try to get someone out so much and not like
You weren't on Browns Twitter after the Falcons game when the Falcons
You have-
had
no, but
350
like these calls
Yeah, you
for
haven't
Canada
seen-
have been every week for the past 3 years. Literally,
I mean, dude, the Dan Snyder calls for selling the team have existed my entire life. So if we're talking about how long that's existed.
no, I guess I might just be privileged being a Steelers fan, but like, it's a shame. Especially it's just like how long can Mike Tomlin sit and be like, I only have so many years left. Is this really who I want to be coaching my closing
I mean,
years?
I think the dude how old is Tomlin? Like, is he in his 40s, 50s? Like, how old is he? I don't even know.
Probably early 50s if I had to guess.
I mean, dude, Tomlin can coach that team for like 20 years. He'll never get fired.
I don't think he's
Like-
going to. This is a point me and my dad were talking about a little bit. He's 50 years old. Straight up.
Yeah, I
50.
mean, Pete Carroll's coaching at 70. Dude could coach for another like 20 years if he wanted to.
Oh no, he could. I think his first losing season, it's gonna be it. I don't think it should be. I think he's built this reputation up so high for himself that he has sort of this. He's not because that's the thing. I don't get me wrong. I love his thing. He's never had a losing season, but how many times has he gone to the playoffs, and how many playoff victories does he have besides the 2 where he went deep? Like that's my point.
No, the Tomlin debate is a tough situation because he's a very good regular season coach,
Yeah.
and he has won you a Super Bowl. But like
No,
when you look at playoff history,
I'm gonna
it's tough.
very riskily say he won us a Super Bowl
well,
because
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
Cowher's team.
Yeah, I would say that was a different roster. I get the contention there. I totally understand it. Like that's what I mean when I say like he is a great regular season coach. It's just the playoffs is where like a lot of people have complaints.
As much as I hate to say it, if Tomlin got fired, I think at any point I'd be like, "Fuck yeah!" As a Browns fan, like y'all are dumb.
Oh yeah, no.
I mean,
think
yeah.
I'd be saying no as well. My point is, I think there are too many people like my dad who are like,
Yeah,
even after this year, they want him. My dad wants Mike Tomlin gone after this year.
There's not 31 dudes in the world who I'd rather have coached a football team over him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah, I mean there's very few people.
let's
but-
try to move through this news a little quicker. Quickly,
Yeah,
the Browns have hired their new defensive coordinator, Mr. the one, the only, Jim Schwartz.
Ooh.
Longtime defensive coordinator, Super Bowl champion with the Eagles. This year he spent in Tennessee, maybe the last 2 years. I could be wrong on that. As
winner.
the
You're happy to have a Titan on your staff, George.
I have a Super Bowl champion defensive coordinator on my staff.
He's a winner. He's a Titan, George. Tighten up.
And what's even more fun about Jim Schwartz is this is not his first tenure with the Browns. Jim
Really?
first ever NFL position was as an unpaid intern on the Cleveland Browns right out of college under Coach Bill Belichick and Nick Saban.
Oh my god.
And he said his job was, quote unquote, to go get cigarettes for secretaries. His whole press conference was just impeccable. He told some funny Bill Belichick stories. He talked about his first time in Cleveland, how the building is quote unquote unchanged, has changed a lot, but the neighborhood hasn't. And then
Damn.
he said maybe the most promising thing I've ever heard out of a Browns defensive coordinator in my life. He said, "When we bring this city a Super Bowl, it's going to be the only Super Bowl parade ever better than the one in Philadelphia." And I was like, "Oh baby!" Like, Jim Schwartz, incredible reputation. He left with Doug Peterson in Philadelphia. They kind of left together. Like I said, they won a Super Bowl there. I'm excited to have him. I think he's going to be a great fit. I think he's experienced. I think he knows what's up, and he knows how to get interior defensive linemen going, and that was our biggest problem. So there we have it. The Browns news. Welcome aboard, Jimmy Schwartz.
Nice. I think it was a good hire.
It was. At first, I was all on the Brian Flores train, but the more I've looked into Jim Schwartz, the more I'm happy.
I was
with
on
not
that
even-
train for a little bit.
I mean, I think Brian Flores is also a good. I think if you would have chose either of them, it would have been a good decision.
Absolutely. So I'm happy.
I think we could head down to the Commanders now, though. We got a little news over there. Anything up with the Commanders, James?
Yeah, I mean, just like a quick little tidbit. Ownership news, nothing much crazy. Todd Bowley, who's the owner of the Dodgers and I think of Liverpool or Chelsea, it's one of the two. He is apparently out of the race now for the Commanders ownership. He's pulled out if he was ever in. There's no confirmation if he was ever in or not. There were some reports were that he was in, others not, but he's not in it. They've confirmed he's out. And Jeff Bezos still hasn't put a bid in for the team. There are still some people thinking he might just at the very end of the process to just outbid everyone. I'm not sure whether he will or not. It's kind of just up in the air there. But the current frontrunner for if Snyder sells the team, because there's still that if, they don't know. I think he will sell it, but there's not actually definitive evidence whether he will or not. The frontrunner is, I hope. I also think he will. I just think so much has gone on and so much has gone on this year, pointing to it that if he doesn't sell, I just give up. It's just painful at that point because they've gone through all the processes have all been gone through. They hired Bank of America to look into it. There have been multiple reports saying he's seeking to sell the team. If this all comes to a conclusion with Dan Snyder being fuck you guys, I'm not selling, I'm going to be very sad. But the current frontrunner for ownership is Josh Harris, the majority owner of the Philadelphia 76ers and the New Jersey Devils, the NHL franchise. His group is the current frontrunner for it, but we probably won't know until March. The only other thing with Commanders news right now is they're currently interviewing offensive coordinator candidates. They have the two they have currently interviewed are Pat Shurmur, former head coach, offensive coordinator, a bunch of different places, and then Ken Zampese, who is Washington's current QB coach. They actually interviewed the Falcons QB coach Charles London today, and they are working on interviewing Eric Studfeld, who's the running back and assistant offensive coach in Miami. They haven't confirmed whether they're actually getting an interview with him yet. They have just requested it, but yeah, it's still kind of up in the air who's going to be their OC. They've also tried to interview Jim Caldwell, who just said no, he's looking for head coaching jobs, and Darrell Bevel, who's I think he's the passing coordinator in Miami, and who also just said no because he's looking for better opportunities, which I understand. I get it. If I had to guess right now for the OC, I'd probably say it's going to be Pat Shurmur. I don't think they should hire Zampese from within. I think they should go outside of the organization. I don't really like the Shurmur hire, but I'd rather kind of go with someone that maybe hasn't gotten a chance to see if they can do anything, like a Studfeld or a Charles London. But it just doesn't matter. I believe Dan Snyder's selling this team, so next year is not going to matter at all because I think whoever's going to be the owner is just going to fire Rivera and his staff after next year. So if Dan Snyder sells, this year is a victory for me. And I don't care what happens next year. I'll accept whatever happens.
Yeah, no. That wraps up our team news, though. I think we could head into the breaking news now, which is going to be probably a little smaller of a section for us this week because we're mostly just going to be going over some coaching changes. But I do have an interesting thing to start us off here. I know you mentioned some coaching changes, but I was reading something, and it was about when I was looking up details about Lamar Jackson, about the game, and we were talking about Huntley's play during the game, and I was looking up something during Huntley, and I found an article that apparently a certain truth has been revealed about the NFL, and I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but I just kind of want to talk about this and see how you feel. The stat was broken following the extension for that touchdown that inevitably turned out to be a 98-yard fumble recovery for a touchdown the other way, that it was 0.6 yards away from the end zone. But that's not quite the stat we're looking at, because it turns out that this stat was determined by a chip in the football. There are chips in the football. Yep. Look that up right now. If you like,
I'm looking this up right
there's
now.
the NFL has chips in the football to determine how far they are from goal lines and first down markers. Like straight up.
Oh my God, you're right.
The NFL puts microchips in footballs, but they're not ready for primetime on-key calls yet.
That's what I'm. When did they do this? How did they just do this?
And in 2017, it says.
Like,
Started.
how does nobody know about this? Because everyone's always argued, why can't we? I know those yellow lines on the screen aren't real, but like, the markers do have some sort of sensor, and we should be able to just know.
Call me crazy. Call me crazy. We put decades ago now a motherfucking man on the moon. I could type 9 digits on this phone, and my little box lets me talk live to someone in China. But we can't figure out how to put a chip in the football and tell a first down live.
No, but that's my point, and it appears like that's what they're trying to do.
It doesn't
But
appear that way.
how did we go so long without knowing this at all?
They were like nonchalant about it. They're like, yeah, chips in the football.
I was just like really surprised when I saw this. I felt like I had to bring it up.
Well, it's weird because obviously there's like flaws with it, or they'd be more open about it because, like, there are still spotting mistakes that are very obvious.
Oh,
and that have to get changed.
But
but
at the point where they have this information, how are they doing that? That's my point. If you have the tracking chips already, how are you getting it that wrong?
no, that's what. Yeah, that's. I mean, I don't know. Maybe that. I don't know. The only thing I can guess is that like they're trying to just like go base.
Move around in there.
Well, I'm imagining it's like in the middle.
Well, yeah,
It's
there's
a
probably
ball full
padding
of
around
air.
it.
Ball's full of air.
I guess you're right. Wait a second.
It has to be like up against the inside of one of the sides.
It could be in
Yeah.
the stitching, the white stitching.
No,
too.
it wouldn't be in the stitching. They said it's a
Well, it could be, like,
coin-sized
under it.
microchip. Let's see if they have like an image of where it is.
Where's the microchip in the football?
Yeah, wait, because if it's like on one tip, that would be like really unbalanced,
Well,
right? If
Well,
you're
yeah,
holding,
I wouldn't
Yeah,
be.
that's
It
what
would
we're
be in the
trying to
middle. It would have to be in the middle. I mean,
we're getting too into this. We can research the NFL football chips later. I just had to bring that up because I saw it and I was like, I'm gonna forget about it.
That. I
Like,
know
that's crazy.
No, and that you learned
Oh.
something new. That's my surprise of the week. I know we haven't done that in a while, but
Okay, if you actually look up, the LA Times does have a picture of what it looks like, and it looks like it would just be like kind of like glue, like there'd be like some adhesive inside there would be an adhesive thing on the chip, and then they would like glue it down to like the football.
oh, and like on the inside of it, so it's. I mean,
Yeah. So they probably like put it inside the football first, then
Does that
re-stitch it, I would
affect
guess.
like the throw at all?
I mean,
It's-
one would assume.
but it's like so
Probably
small.
in the absolute most minute way. But I feel like Tom Brady's someone who's like, I want to practice with the microchip.
No, but
footballs.
my point is like.
Well, if they all have it, I think.
No, but my point is if you've been if the practice balls you all use at home and at practice aren't chipped, like the NFL's only giving you chipped ones for the games, and there is an effect. I don't think there'd be an effect. It's so small. I don't believe there'd
I
be
think
an effect.
I think the weight. I think the weight's negligible because that's like. And this is not like trying to get into like a golf conversation, but like people have been for a long time trying to get like microchips in golf balls. But the issue with that is like because a golf ball is so small,
It actually
and, like
affects
it's
it.
it's dense in the inside. Like there's literally like dense layers in the inside. Like if you put a microchip in there, it would drastically affect the ball flight. With this, I just think the football's so much bigger and heavier, and the microchip is just small to the point where it's negligible. It doesn't do anything.
It's
is
also
what I
it's
would
also
guess.
not like dense material in the middle. Yeah, I get. Well, my point. It's just like I've seen a lot of quarterbacks who are usually fine with it. I get that they've been in the league since 2017, so this isn't argument wouldn't necessarily hold true. But like, do you think any players have any legitimate reason to be angry about this? And like, especially it not being like, I wonder if the players were like more aware of this than the average viewer.
No.
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, I definitely think it creates the argument though for why do we have the chains. I mean, I think you should still have a first down marker. Like you should still like have it on the field so the players could see it. But like, why do we need to bring out the chains? Like, I just don't understand it.
No, but that's
at that point.
my point is too like the Najee extension that got ruled back that wasn't a touch. Like it feels like those kind of plays we should just know it's a touchdown because the chip crossed the plane.
Well, with those though, you have to like see if the knee's down before the chip reading goes through. But I guess you can time that out though.
No, but my point is if you could have a chip in the football to determine that, you could have a chip in your like. I don't mean to be like that. They're clothing that have sensors on it to tell when you're like sitting or standing.
Yeah, but I think that's a bit tougher.
Oh, it's a lot more different. Yeah, I agree.
Because, like,
my point is like, could that be something they look at in the future? Like special contact clothes that are like, this surface hit the turf at this time, but the ball crossed it this time, so no touchdown or touchdown.
I mean, maybe. I just think that's tougher. Just
it's getting
because,
hyper.
you're,
Like at this point, this is sort of like the argument for robo refs too, at like baseball. You know, like why do we have an ump back there if they call so many pitches wrong?
Yeah, I mean, my argument there is just because it's kind of part of the game. Like it's kind of
Robo ref is coming soon in baseball. I think. I know they're implementing the minors.
I also,
Anyway.
I'm thinking I want this. This is just a good area to generally discuss it. Would the boys be interested in going into baseball more? Like, I don't watch a lot of baseball. And also, would the boys be interested in going into college basketball a little more?
Oh, I don't really watch.
I get into March Madness. Ooh,
Yeah, March Madness I get into.
No, but I was just
baseball-
thinking of maybe watching Notre Dame a little bit. You know, picking up on my team and watching maybe the ACC.
I watch Ohio State play. That's about it.
Yeah, I don't really watch many college basketball. I'll watch the occasional one that's on. I mean, I used to be
it's-
very into baseball,
I'm
but
just-
now I'm really not anymore.
I really would like to keep this going.
I think we could keep a lot of like we could talk about some other sports, make special episodes. I think in the offseason there's gonna be a lot of football to talk about.
Oh
No,
no, yeah, I
that's-
mean, we can do mock drafts. We can do we can do a lot of stuff.
The Super Bowl's in February. The draft.
Listen, I'm also setting a hard goal for us here. I know I talked about it a little bit. I want an athlete on our show. I want I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's like a friend from your like club at school, George. Like
Oscar Stragus, D3 football player.
there we go. Literally, boom. Give me Tasso on the show.
Yeah, why not?
Would hate us.
Tasso probably would, but it's fine.
Um,
Anyway, do we want to move on to the coaching changes?
Yes, I was gonna say we could go coaching changes because I'm seeing a few big ones.
I don't want to analyze them because we got to talk about games still, and we've been at this.
No, yeah, just throw it out there. Lombardi got fired. Joe Lombardi, OC of the Los Angeles Chargers, got fired after the loss to the Jaguars. The Chargers then tried to interview and possibly hire the Vikings offensive coordinator, and he just declined. And didn't even an interview and was like, "Nah, I'm good. I'm good with Minnesota." And there was someone else who just got fired.
Ravens
I'm
offensive
blanking
coordinator Greg Roman appear to have parted ways.
Yep.
now. No, wait, did
Yep, that's what it says.
they did. Oh, well, I didn't know about Roman. That's actually kind of interesting. Byron Leftwich got fired today. That was the other one. Byron Leftwich got fired.
Also,
the OC
this isn't necessarily a coaching change, but this involves a coaching search. I know I talked about it a little bit. The Panthers are apparently in a little bit of hot water because some of their people in their coaching search aren't taking their inclusion training. They keep getting told to take their inclusion training, and they're just not doing it. Like,
they gotta do the training.
no, that's why. So it appears the Panthers need to find a coach, but they don't even know how to look for a coach. It sounds like legally.
I guess not. Oh, you know what? George told me about this, and I forgot about it. It was in the Commanders news that I forgot about. Darren Payne made the Pro Bowl because Aaron Donald's sitting out this year. So good job for Darren Payne, defensive tackle from Washington, made the Pro Bowl. So good for him. But sorry, continue.
Yep. No, but I think that pretty much wraps up the big changes we see. If we see any more, we'll bring it to you next week. Again, we're always going to keep an eye on those, especially as more and more teams get eliminated. More and more coaching decisions will be made. I feel like I don't know if any teams still in at this point are going to have any big coaching changes. I really can't think of any. Like all the coaches are performing.
It's possible that some. Sorry. Sorry,
The
George, what were you
Colts
saying?
and Jim Irsay put out a statement today saying, at the moment they're still rocking Jeff Saturday, but him and Saturday are gonna talk about expectations, what Saturday would be looking for, and make sure it's a good fit still.
No, but we'll keep an eye on that. We'll keep it going forward.
I think Saturday wants to fire the whole staff.
Oh, God.
I mean,
No, but-
that's
Yeah.
So it might be pick Saturday or pick the coordinators, is what it looks like. Anyways.
Yep, I think we can start looking forward. And so, boys, we're
Oh,
going to
but
do
I
it a
mean-
little more organized this week just so we stay a little more on time, I think, bit too. We're going to do the pick for each game at the end of us talking about each game.
okay. And are we in agreement that if I just pick everything correct,
Yep.
then I can tie
Yep.
you guys?
We'll
Alright,
Every winner and every line. You get the
that's
tip.
fine.
All right. And we've got four
So
games to talk about.
on James, you'll have to denote winner and.
Yeah, no, I got
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
And so, I think let's start up with our boys going against a tough opponent in Kansas City. We've got the Kansas City Chiefs at home against Jacksonville, plus 8.5. It's a tough one for the boys. The biggest spread of this week of football. We are the underdogs, the biggest underdogs. But let me tell you why I think. Duval. Maybe not going to win, but they're going to cover.
Covers.
This 8.5 point spread feels criminal. And I think Trevor Lawrence showed last week he could play the worst football ever and still come back. So if you could avoid making those big mistakes to a defense. Don't get me wrong, I think the Chiefs defense is probably better than the Chargers.
I don't think so, dude.
I think they're better coached. I think the roster's better but I think they're better coached.
They've been performing at like defensive player of the year candidate on the team. You know, that's Chris Jones, right? I'm terrible with names.
Chris Jones, yeah.
Like, and then you've got safeties to boot and corners to boot.
The secondary for LA is way better than.
Oh, I'm not saying it's the best, but my point is, I think, given where we are now, like, I think they have a pretty solid defensive unit, probably playing better than the defense did last week, and so I think they're going to have their match cut out for them. If you want my opinion on the game, though, give me the Jaguars plus 8.5.
Yeah, I'm taking Jaguars plus 8.5, but I think the Chiefs win. Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid coming off a bye week. I mean, that's a death sentence.
Yeah, I definitely think you can mark my winner now. I think Chiefs win. I think, and like George said, Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes coming off of a bye is one of the most dangerous things to face in the league. As for the line, it's tough because the Jaguars are coming off of a really, really emotional win. Like, it's not like they just won. They won in one of the most dramatic ways possible. So it's tough. I think I'm also gonna go. It's tough. I'm very in between right now.
No, this is a rough one because again, I'm sort of in the boat too. Like the Chiefs are either going to win this one by 21 and it's not going to be a game, or like.
Yeah, my gut. We're gonna go with the gut instinct. We're gonna go minus 8.5 Chiefs.
All right. We got you marked there, and we'll keep that going in forward. Again, I think this is going to be a good game. I think that this is the biggest spread is crazy because I think this next game should probably be the biggest spread, and that's Philadelphia versus the Giants.
Yeah.
And I guess I might be a little low on the Giants given how they played, but Jalen
That
Hurts.
spread's actually good because I think that spread was at 8.5 when I looked at it at one point.
No, and it's entirely possible, and I think, don't get me wrong, Jalen Hurts is having an MVP caliber season, but the more and more I've watched towards the end of the year, this Eagles team has felt more and more fraudulent to me. Become more and more worried about them.
They did win their first 8, 9.
Yeah, they were really hot early. Then they lost to Washington. Then they kept going. Then Hurts got hurt.
I really don't think
Jalen Hurts has only lost one game.
Here's another one. This is another game where I think the Eagles are going to win, I don't think the Giants are going to win, but give me the Giants plus 7.5 with the spread. I think again, I think it's playoff football. I think NFL's going to want it to be a close game anyways. I think the refs will make it close if the play doesn't.
I'm doing the same thing as you, Night. I think Eagles win, Giants cover. And I hate that I'm going after you and kind of copying you, but this is what I think.
No, that's fine. I trust you. I trust you're not copying me. And if we pick the same thing, we stay tied. We're not helping anybody here.
I don't want to copy you. Trust me.
Is your lock on game 4?
I forgot I have to pick a lock. Fuck.
Because my lock's on game 4.
Well, do I even need to pick a lock? Because I have to pick everything right anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't matter. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, pick your lock in case. Pick your lock in case you don't get everything, because then you get points still. But
I'm going to. Ooh, fuck.
Well, here, George, if you want to think about your lock, I'm definitely taking the Giants like plus 7.5. Definitely taking that. As for the winner, see, it's tough because I really want the Giants to win, but I don't think they will. Just because I think the Eagles are just better, so I'll give the Eagles the win. But I think Giants make it a close game. If the Giants won though, and that's the reason that my parlay loses, I'd be pleased. Like I'd be pleased with that.
I'm going to lock that Giants plus 7.5.
that's fine. I'm fine I'm gonna bold locks this week.
That's you.
Oh God. All right. Anyone want to lead us on this next one though?
Sure. I'll lead. I think this will be a very competitive game. The line's actually, I think, set really well because I think, it can it's either going to be like a last-minute field goal that's going to win it or a last-minute touchdown that's going to win it, in my eyes. And, you're looking at two of the teams that, they both beat the Chiefs. So, you could argue that those are the two best teams the AFC are playing right now. I know a lot of people would argue the Chiefs are the best, and I can understand the argument fully. But this is a matchup that, due to unfortunate circumstances we weren't able to see earlier in the year. Now we're going to get to see it. I think Buffalo wins it. I think they're the best team in the AFC, and I think they cover. So I'm taking Buffalo minus 5.5 for the win and the cover.
All right. Let me tell you, I just looked up one important stat here, and I honestly, George, wait, no, George, go first. I'm keeping my private data.
Very fair, very fair. I told you guys last week the Bengals are my Super Bowl pick.
Wait, what did James pick? I didn't write it down.
Buffalo wins. Buffalo covers.
Yep. The Bengals are my pick to make the Super Bowl out of the AFC. I like Joe Burrow. I like their defense. Like their coach is okay. Zach Taylor's getting the job done, I guess. Can't complain about him. I mean, it's so hard voting against the ghost of Damar Hamlin, dude. Especially if he's at that game. Like, fuck. But I'm going Bengals plus 5.5, and I even think they scratch out the win there in the end.
It's a good thing I didn't say what I needed to say, because as of 1 day ago, Damar Hamlin is visiting the Bills daily. Will he be at the divisional playoff game? Let's see.
If he's visiting them daily, I would assume.
That's what I'm saying. And it's hard for me to look at this and not be like Damar Hamlin's not going to be there.
I mean,
if Damar Hamlin's in the building, they're returning every kickoff for a touchdown. The offense isn't even going to see the field. It's going to be the most beautiful game of football ever played. Give me Buffalo minus 5.5. Josh Allen is going to whoop Joe Burrow on national television. Joe Burrow is going... Don't get me wrong, Joe Burrow's good. I think Joe Burrow loses by 2 tutties in this game.
Oh, that's bold. I don't think they lose by 2 touchdowns, but
I do. I don't think it's a game.
I think the Bills have a get-right game. I do think the Bills... This is like their get-right game going into the AFC Championship.
All right. That leaves us with one more game, and this is going to be my lock of the week. So,
do you want to start it that night?
Yeah, sure. 'Cause I'm going to tell you where it's going because it's pretty obvious.
I'm probably going to agree with you.
I will never vote on this team. Haven't bet on them once this whole time. And I ain't going to start betting on them today. Because the Cowboys are falling on their face this week. I've been saying it every week. I've been saying they're going to do it. I think this is the week to do it. Mr. Purdy is going to outthrow Mr. Prescott. It feels right. The Niners are going to get through. I can't look at a team with Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, all on the same offense, playing the way they are, and not be like, dang. Watching the 49ers play makes me feel more and more stupid for picking the Eagles to be my NFC team at the beginning of the playoffs. Because I just can't see a way that the Eagles beat these guys, even if they have the chance to match up.
I mean, I think that the Eagles' worst matchup is the 49ers just because they're an extremely physical team that dominates the run game.
Yep.
And that's what the Eagles are bad at.
But my lock of the week will be San Francisco -4.
George, you want to go or do you want me to go?
It doesn't matter. I guess I'll go real quick.
All right, go for it.
I believe that this game will probably be close for a lot of it, if not the whole thing. I think that outside of, I think offensively, teams both have their strengths. They both have good defenses too, but one team is hot, and that team's the San Francisco 49ers, and one team's coached by Kyle Shanahan, and that's the San Francisco 49ers. Shanahan just finds a way to win in these divisional rounds. I got San Fran to win and to cover. And I think the last two lines both toyed with me mentally.
These aren't easy picks by any means.
Would not be surprised if this one went the other way. But that's where I'm going.
Yeah, I am going San Fran to win and San Fran -4. I am surprised the line is this close. Giving San Fran, it's basically saying the Cowboys and San Fran are equal teams because you're giving San Fran a 3-point home field advantage, and you're saying aside from that they're the same team. And maybe if Dallas comes out and has they've shown that they can play some really good games this year. They've had their 40-point showings and limiting teams to 3 points in those 40-point showings. I'll give them that. I don't think San Fran's one of those teams though. I just think San Fran's too good. They're too well coached. They've got too much talent. Brock Purdy, despite all odds, is making it all come together. I'm not betting against the 49ers this year. Like I said, last episode, they're my pick to come out of the NFC and represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. I don't think they'll win the Super Bowl, but I think they have a damn good chance to. So no. I think they'll win this game.
Nope.
It might be close at times, but I think they'll win this game rather easily.
I think we have a lot of consensus on a lot of these games. The San Francisco and the Giants game, we all picked the same. I guess James is the Giants losing, but he still picks the spread there. James, do you have one to say it's a lock in case you don't get the parlay, just so you get the points and maybe?
If I don't get the parlay, I don't get anything. But if I was gonna lock something in, just for the, if I was gonna lock something in just for the confidence in it, I would say the first thing I'd look at would be the Giants, but since George said, but I would never lock in the same thing as you guys. And George took that one first, clearly. So I would probably take Buffalo -5.5.
No, that's a confident one too. That's nothing bad with that. But that's gonna wrap up our bets for this week. We've got we've got a big week. The amount of football games we have to talk about is slowly decreasing. Sadly, we're nearing the end of our season. But, again, it's getting exciting. I think we're having a really good time watching it. I think there's some really exciting games. Even just talking about Jacksonville game, that was so fun to watch. And I hope there's more. I hope there's more good football like that to watch. And this week, it is just good matchups. That's the thing. Everyone who's out, all the bad teams are out at this point in the season. It is only good football from here on out, and I'm excited to watch.
And I'm gonna stake the claim that we are getting better at podcasting.
Yeah, no. We're wrapping
If
it
not
up.
think
anything
so.
else, we're going back and forth a little bit more, fight with each other a little bit.
No, but here's my thing. I didn't want to bring this up before we closed it up. We got our first hate comment.
No, we got a hate comment.
I don't know. I just asked at the end of the last video. It says I put a comment at the bottom of the video. I was like, "Hey, what topics or situations do you think we should cover next week?" And this motherfucker named Platonic Panic, you don't think I see you? Responded, "I think y'all should cover the Ligma situation."
Oh my!
Oh, he got us good. Here, yeah, we'll cover the Ligma situation, Plato. How about you lig my balls and lig Trevor Lawrence's balls when he gets this dub after throwing these balls in the end zone this weekend?
But you're not allowed to lig Justin Herbert's balls because he's not a winner.
Oh, jeez. Oh, we don't need to get into that. But we're gonna wrap things up here again. We only want positive comments. Bring on the hate this week.
No, bring
we
'em
want
on.
your most hateful comment, not like
I wanna
actual
hear-
hate. I guess I should
wanna hear about your
rephrase.
favorite-
Jeez.
No.
We don't. We want
no.
your angriest NFL take from the season in the comments below.
Or want to hear about your favorite band, Imagine Dragon.
Oh, that's a good one. We can talk about Imagine Dragon all day in the chat. However, again, just subscribe, like on our videos here.
No hate crimes in the chat.
We appreciate it. No hate crimes in the chat though. We're not chill with that. Again, we
Nope,
do our
not at all.
diversity training here. We take things very seriously.
Unlike Carolina, we value diversity.
Yeah.
Honestly, I wonder what that test is. We could probably look it up and see what that test
Next
is.
week
'Cause
we will
I'm
be
just-
taking the diversity training live.
I'm just so
diversity
curious.
training.
We will be
What
live
this is.
streaming what the Carolina Panthers decision makers are trying to avoid.
I just can't think of how hard.
You
this
know,
test
it's
could
literally
be.
just like, don't be discriminatory. Like,
I like to imagine they just sent them a link to online modules, and none of them just can know how to access them, or just it's fine, they'll
Yeah.
go away.
no, but again, all serious, closing it up. Thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate you guys viewing in. We're not doing this for views. We're not doing this for view counts. We're not doing it for positive comments from Platonic Panic. We're doing it because we have a good time talking. We have a good time talking with each other. We're just a couple of friends, like we always say. We're just the average guys. We're not all. I mean, George played football. We take this very casually. We do not take it seriously enough to get angry at one little Plato Panic comment. So, with that, we'll wrap things up here. And one more time for the boys, because they need it going into the team. Duval! Thank you. We're out of here.